Yeah, let's go ahead and let's get ready to get started. That frees up some agenda time. So, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. And the first part is a consent agenda. We do have a change on our agenda. And that item number 6 is not gonna be the open discussion with Mothers Out Front. They're not gonna present. So, the first part of this is, we want to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, everybody that agrees, say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Say no. Minutes are approved. So let's go on to the committee reports. I don't know if there's anything to report on committees. I think what we had planned on was to go into the strategic planning and figure out what we want to do from a committee standpoint. So unless there's a report to be made, I'm going to say let's skip the committee reports.
Okay.
And the next part is the presentation from Black Hills.
So, Mr. Chair, because we were scheduled for 4:20, I don't believe my presenter is on yet. Can you see?
I don't believe so. I can go ahead and continue with city updates.
Yeah, so would you like to maybe do the city updates and then we'll kind of come back around?
We've got some paving going on, which is a good thing. I can feel the vibrations here. So,
Not well timed.
No, not well timed. You'll get to smooth that in a minute.
All right, everyone, we will begin with city updates. I would like to share a couple of slides. I'm going to pull up my slideshow here. Oh, let me be sure I can share screen.
And there's my
Oh,
presenter.
Great.
But please continue.
Sure. Sorry, I got two.
I think it's under is it under view? There you go.
what is your name? You look familiar.
Oh, yeah, Brian McCain. I'm the new chief of staff for the city.
For the city.
Yes, sir.
I'm Brian Edgy and Tom.
I'm Tom
Do you
Corlett.
know
I'm-
Ken?
Dylan.
You know some of your employees, I assume. Your co.
I guess we should have probably maybe done some introductions. I'm sorry.
Well, I think
We're small enough at least to do it this time. Yeah.
Why don't we back out of that for a second and go through introductions and everybody online. So, I'm Ken Dante. I'm the current chair of the Energy Commission. Diane, you want to?
Oh, am I part of this? I'm sorry. My name is Diane Dante. I am part of Rioka and I'm the webmaster at Rioka and I'm also on the commission for the homeless and affordable housing.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm Tom Corlett, and I work with the Colorado Renewable Energy Society Policy Committee. It's my biggest, I'm basically retired.
my name's Edgy Walrat. I'm retired from Excel Energy and I've been on the commission ever since it started. Do you want to jump in?
I'm Andrew Hayden. I'm responsible for this.
We're feeling all right.
Yes, we wanted everybody to get a massage during the meeting today, so welcome.
I am
Andrew Hayes, Public Works Director.
Brian McCain, chief of staff for City of Pueblo.
John V. Hill, Black Hills Energy Community Affairs.
George Andrews, City of Pueblo Energy Efficiency Coordinator.
I'm Michael Briscoe. I'm a professor of environmental sociology at CSUP.
I'm Dylan Goodman. I'm a transportation planner for PayCog.
Both on the commission and
Yeah, why don't we have the folks that are online? Let's start with Anthony.
Hi there, everybody. Anthony Vigil, Safety and Environmental Health Officer for Pueblo School District 60.
Joan?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Oh, it's working. Joan Seaman, older, older citizen of Colorado, but very involved in clean and renewable energy at this time, and definitely questioning nuclear power. Thank you.
Iris?
Thank you. I'm an interested community member, and I just consider myself kind of an ally of this commission, and I'm enjoying watching and learning and listening. And occasionally I have an idea that I want to share, so.
Good, we want to hear it, okay? Thank you. Alan?
Yeah, sorry I can't be there in person today. I kind of have a little bit of a sore throat, and I thought I might be getting crud and didn't want to pass it along to everyone else. But I'm a member, Alan Ward, a member of the EAC. I'm also the Water Resources Division Manager for Pueblo Water.
Thanks, Ellen. And if you're sick, thanks for staying home. Thea?
Hi, everyone. I'm Thea. I'm a health promotion specialist at the Pueblo Health Department.
Okay. And I guess we have Michael Harrington from Black Hills, right?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Yeah, my name is Michael Harrington. I'm the Director of Regulatory for Black Hills, and John and I are going to present a little bit later.
Okay. So George, you want to go into the Black Hills presentation?
I'll go ahead and.
Can you hold on a minute? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Patty, I'm sorry I didn't.
That's all right. You missed. That's okay. You missed me. I'm remote here. I'm in a hotel in Denver, so I wish I could be with you, but I wanted to beat traffic to get up here.
Yeah. Okay, understood.
Yeah. So this is my second meeting as a member of the commission, and glad to be a part of it. And well, let's rock and roll. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for being part of the commission, Patty.
Yeah.
Anybody else I'm missing? Because I can't see the entire role.
That's everyone.
Did everyone? Okay. So
Julie.
Oh, Julie is.
Oh, hi, Julie Rodriguez. I'm from Black Hills Energy. I'm one of the senior community affairs managers.
Okay, thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, I'll go ahead and begin with city updates. I do have some slides I'd like to share with you all today. Let me just pull up my screen here. Oh, we also have Tyler joining. Can everyone see the screen online?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Let me just get to presenter mode. Okay. So I do have a couple updates regarding the energy performance contracting, the EV readiness plan, and the strategy plan. First, I'd like to start talking about the EV readiness plan, specifically the stakeholder outreach plan that is ongoing. So the purpose of the stakeholder outreach process to gather perspectives from the members of the public community on EV infrastructure and adoption. And of course, we're going to promote equity, inclusivity, and collaboration within the community. The aim is to guide the EV readiness plan that is informed by community input, supporting Pueblo at large. For some background for members that may not be familiar, city received an EV readiness planning grant through the Colorado Energy Office, and now we are working with our contractor to see that plan through. Our chosen contractor is Iconergy, as well as IBE, Institute for Built Environment, is going to be leading the stakeholder engagement strategy, and Iconergy will be analyzing more of the technical aspect. So process for the outreach plan. IBE, the city, and Iconergy will begin engaging the public now through August, providing outreach in both English and Spanish. We're going to leverage existing opportunities and existing data, specifically Black Hills. So thank you, Eric Lundin, for providing some additional EV data. There's two key strategies for the stakeholder engagement plan. we'll be hosting workshops, 2 virtual workshops in English and Spanish as needed, as well as a community questionnaire to gather data from the community. So we will be sharing the questionnaire throughout the community, as well as I will inform you all of the stakeholder workshops when those occur. Equity will be a big piece for this plan, seeking participation from historically underserved populations to be integrated into this plan. We're going to be looking at Hispanic community, low income, residents of multifamily, renters, mobile homes, seniors, youth, and people who don't necessarily always have access to a car. We're going to be looking at those groups for equity. Timeline for stakeholder engagement will be now through August 2024. The entire EV readiness plan is projected to be completed in November of this year. Key messages for the EV readiness plan. It's the city's first ever EV readiness plan. It will guide EV education policy and infrastructure for the next 5 to 10 years, supporting current and future adoption of electric vehicles. This will help advance the city's 2017 resolution to be powered by renewable energy by 2035 and support the state's 2023 EV plan. This plan will be informed by feedback of the community members through the various methods. The city is going to do its best to consider all community input, but it probably is not possible for everything to be included in that. So all input will be taken seriously to inform the plan. Implementation will take time. And so we'll be looking at near-term strategies as well as long-term strategies. Key audience for this, we have primary, secondary, and community stakeholders. Primary stakeholders essential to implementing charging infrastructure in the plan. Secondary stakeholders crucial for supporting the implementation, primarily education. And secondary stakeholders also include those who represent equity, communities, and renewable energy enthusiasts. We also have the community members who represent the current prospective end users of the electric vehicles. So everyone who works, lives, travels in and out of Pueblo. Primary, secondary, and community stakeholders. I do want to say this list comes from the state PO. This is the stakeholder list the state asks us to engage with. Primary stakeholders include Pueblo County, Black Hills Energy, Pueblo Regional Building Department, PACOG, Pueblo Housing, NREL, South Central Council of Governments. Primary being crucial for the plan's development, permitting, electric rates, siting, everything primary. Secondary stakeholders include the auto dealers, Chamber of Commerce's, PCC, CSU Pueblo, school districts, Mothers Out Front, Rioka, Jesus, a lot of the community education groups, the secondaries, and then community as well. We're going to ask for community input in this throughout the process. Points of engagement. We're looking at a workshop in the next month with our primary stakeholders. Then we're also looking at a secondary confirming workshop in August to bring in the public and hear their perceptions. Talking more about the activities and objectives here. Understanding workshop with our primary stakeholders anticipated May 22nd, middle part of the month. Understanding goals and objectives, challenges, opportunities to address those. That will be for our primary stakeholders first. We'll also have a community questionnaire. We'll be releasing June through July. This will be shared throughout the community to understand driving habits, awareness, perceptions of EVs. This will be general public audience. We'll also have a second workshop, the confirming workshop in August with our secondary stakeholders and community members to confirm, prioritize, and refine the EV strategies, looking at feasibility as well as prioritization of the strategies. Okay, so that is where we are at the EV readiness plan.
I had a couple questions.
Sure.
Are you in charge of running this, George, or who's the principal folks?
That's us.
Between Andrew and I, yes.
So the, one of the pieces here, so I mean, there's two thrusts kind of the focus of that. One is the public infrastructure access, and one is electrification of the city. What kind of strategy we're gonna do to achieve those two goals. This is a grant that we had received for, well, Colorado Energy Office for $50,000, I think was the amount. So it's within the bounds of what they can do within that scope. We're gonna try to target, again, primarily focusing, I think, on the public infrastructure department. I did not want to skip also identifying strategies for fielding and installing necessary infrastructure to support fleet electrification if cities go in that direction.
So these couple events that you're gonna have, are they public events or?
The first workshop will be for primary stakeholders, and then we'll have the second workshop for the community, for secondary stakeholders.
Very kind of broad public input, and this committee is one of the stakeholders, right? So, I mean, there'll be some engagement.
Okay.
But the broad community input will be achieved through that sort of trying to get perspectives and understanding and the identification needs from a different broad group of stakeholders. That's what that kind of middle phases there of doing so.
Just how does this tie with Black Hills program?
So the city's program is independent of Black Hills. Black Hills will be the utility provider for it. I mean, they might
have a
be
program.
Well, they may be a provider of infrastructure for the other parts here, but it's not necessarily. We're not committed to.
Yeah, I think probably the best way to say this is not new. The way that we interact with the county is an example right now. And so as a primary stakeholder, I think some of those conversations will be, how do we leverage what you're doing in terms of public outreach? How do you leverage the programs we have available, the rebates that are available to you today? What's stackable? Just helping you all understand all of that stuff. I know through our excuse me, through our transportation electrification plan, we can offer fleet analysis. So you can actually, and I don't know if I think the city, that might be new to the plan, I can't recall. But fleet, just an analysis of what's feasible, like what should be your priority areas? How do you, what are the rebates available? How do you go move forward? So there's a lot we can do as that primary stakeholding group, and I think that'll be identified through that process.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something, because I'm an EV owner. And, the operational costs are, I've been driving this car since July. And I put $34 of energy into it from the superchargers. The rest has been free. Either my solar system or the public chargers. So Consumer Reports came out with the lowest operating cost automobile, which is a Tesla. Now, maybe that's not reachable by everybody. It probably will be soon. It's the lowest cost operating cost. There's really no operating cost involved, right? I mean, you have to make sure you have, your tires and air pressure in your tires. That's about it.
So let's continue, please, so we can get to Black Hills. So we have our next piece I'd like to update everyone on is our energy performance contracting phase. The city, we just submitted the RFP for purchasing to review and approve. We'll have pre-proposal meeting scheduled about 15 days after they finalize that. That will be pre-proposal where we invite interested energy service companies in. So about 15 days after we finalize this, could be off by a couple of days here. We're going to look at 25 buildings to audit. These are the buildings that have been submitted. These are organized by largest square footage, the original date built, kilowatt hours and cost, gas therms and cost, and water gallons and cost per building. Can just take a little bit to review this, but we'll be looking at Municipal Justice Center, largest square footage, City Hall, Fleet Garage. We're going to look at the Main Street garage lights, transportation offices, airport. I do have to follow up with our gas provider for these following buildings.
Yeah, George, just a quick question on the energy costs. Was demand taken into account and labeled by building, or just kilowatt hour and charge cost?
I believe this is for kilowatt hours and spend. I'll have to double check, but I would like to thank Rhonda Morrison from Black Hills for providing the info for this. And
This is the annual.
This is annual usage for 2023. So a lot of these buildings are down here in this area. So this building, the different office buildings, but we also want to look at what's crucial for city services, specifically the Municipal Justice Center, the Pope Block, server room and generator down here. You need to just determine the meter and how that is divided. And we'll also be looking at the golf courses, the water, and looking at different opportunities for energy efficiency savings, as well as the wastewater treatment building, the offices there, fire stations. So that's it.
How'd you say you picked these? Was it by age?
So we looked at large square footage and then occupancy and cost and age as well. So these all made the list, what we were looking at to review the buildings. Average original age built in 1969. I don't know how useful that is, but
Yeah.
Pre-qualified energy service company list from the state Colorado Energy Office. These will be the pre-qualified company names that are invited to the RFP. 15 companies. Iconergy, same company we're working on the EV readiness plan, is pre-selected, pre-qualified. Couple of example projects we're looking at, partly with the energy audits we received last year from Michael's Energy. So these are in there that we want to look at, looking at HVAC replacement for the Municipal Justice Center, looking at the HVAC chillers and boilers for City Hall, replacing the incandescent lighting, looking to see if we can include solar on the Main Street garages or on the purchasing warehouse here. Looking at electric heat, if we can incorporate that into the building, air balancing, of course, building automation controls where applicable. And we're also working with our AP software provider to integrate their energy manager software. So another piece to this we'll be bringing on the energy management system where we can centrally manage and review the buildings that the city owns to look at utility costs, billing, anything like that. Okay, moving on to the last bit of the strategy plan. Any questions?
Yeah, I just want to make a couple comments about the CPC. Thank you. This was a big task just to get down to the buildings. I mean, the ordinance was set up to look at 500,000 square feet. And you, I mean, you got 497.
Right.
Yeah, so that's great.
Right.
The other, just a couple comments about EPC or energy performance contract. The idea behind this is it's gonna save you money. You don't do this unless you save money. And the money you save pays for the updates. So, this is a great process to go through. I think this will set the example for a lot of places around the city to do a similar thing. So I think this is a really important activity.
And there's the potential to ask city council for another round. I know, like with the zoo buildings and other buildings that didn't make the cut this time, we'll potentially look at in the future.
Do you know
depending on
what the total square footage of city-owned buildings is?
I believe Andrew shared it's about 1.5 million square feet, but a lot of that is airport hangar space, so it doesn't really qualify for this energy audit. Okay, last part before we give it to Black Hills, working with Mike Wakefield's class and the CSUP students over the past 2 months to look at an energy strategy analysis. So had a couple conversations with them the past week. They're finalizing the reports. Really excited to present their findings. They're looking at various energy sources and recommendations for the Pueblo area. And of course, implementing renewable energy and storage. That's a big piece to all of that. And the final presentation will be this Monday, May 6th, 4 p.m. at the Hassan School of Business, room 110, to hear the final presentation that the students will give about their findings. They'll present that document to the Energy Advisory Commission, and then we'll be able to build on that.
Is it, excuse me, George, would that be a draft plan essentially? Yeah.
Yes, it'll be a draft plan. All right, and that concludes city updates for the time being. And now, Black Hills, if you're ready, I'd like to invite you to present your ERP. Let me just add it up.
While Andrew's pulling that up, just want to say thank you for the opportunity to give this presentation today. I actually won't be presenting much. I'll be relying on Mike Harrington. You met him just a few minutes ago. Mike's the Director of Regulatory, as you heard. And so what that means is Mike is like our primary interface with the PUC, and he's responsible for all the filings ultimately that we do at the PUC. And so he's kind of our subject matter expert on this plan. And, you know, the clean energy plan as it stands, what I would say to you, just know that this is a continuation of work that started a long time ago. So in 2010, we retired coal. And so we have a coal-free generation facility. It's primarily powered by the Pueblo Airport Generating Station, which is natural gas, 400 megawatts or so out at north east of Pueblo, near the airport. And then we've got 160 megawatts of wind power that we get. It's there's two projects, Bush Ranch 1 and Bush Ranch 2, and they're out in the I think it's the Huerfano County. And so between those two, you know, those are our two primary, that's our generation capacity. This plan is the plan about how we're going to meet the state's goals of 80% carbon emissions by the year 2030. And Mike is going to share with you, you know, not just the plan itself, but how we got to where we are today. And so, Mike, if you are ready, what I am going to ask is for the group that's online, I'd like to get through the entire presentation first, mostly because we can't see your hand if you raise it. So if you all don't mind, let's just get through the presentation. I find that we answer a lot of questions along the way. And then if you have questions at the end, we'll be happy to answer whatever you have.
Yeah, John. Hi, everybody. Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, you want me to advance to the next slide? You probably just have to tell me, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, and I guess I'll just comment on John's opening remarks there. This plan and this project has been a 3-year effort. I personally been working on this for 3 years, but it really started back to our long-term vision, like John mentioned, about how do we serve our customers and in our communities, starting back with retiring coal. And specifically with this clean energy plan, it really started back in 2019 when our legislature passed Senate Bill 19236, which established the Air Quality Control Commission and our environmental air pollution goals. So that's really was the start of it. And then there, Black Hills made the strategic decision to continue adopting policies or procedures here to reduce our emissions in the state. And so we've been working on this clean energy plan for quite a while. It's really aimed at the future, and it's our future vision of how we're going to reduce our carbon emissions by 2030. So I'm happy to share with you guys our plan, how we got here, and there's still a little bit of work to do left. We just filed this with the PUC, and so there's still a little bit of review left for the PUC before it ultimately gets approved. But we're really happy here to share with you the plan. Yeah, John, you want to go ahead? This is just, that timeline we talked about a little bit. It's been a 3-year labor of love here. We announced that we were going to file this plan in early 2021. We then filed our first plan. The commission at the PUC breaks this up into 2 phases, so we call it a phase 1 and a phase 2. Our phase 1 we filed in May of 2022, which really identified the amount of resources that we need. And then we went through that PUC process. The PUC approved our resource need in phase 1 in March of 2023. And shortly thereafter, that kind of kicks off our phase 2, which was the competitive RFP process. So we issued an RFP in July of 2023. We sent it out to dozens of developers who build renewable projects. We use an independent evaluator to kind of help us facilitate this RFP. We got bids back in October last year, and we had a record number of bids that were submitted to us. We had 113 different proposals that were submitted through the RFP process. And this ranged from all types of technology, all types of sizes. So we had wind projects, solar projects, battery storage projects, and all combinations and all sizes. So since October, our team has been pouring through these bids, analyzing these bids and the data. And in April, just a couple of weeks ago, we filed, we call it the 120-day report at the PUC. And essentially, this is the conclusion of our analysis. And it identifies projects that we would like to move forward with and contract with and ultimately build. So now we're kind of in this phase where the commission is reviewing our 120-day report. All of the parties that were in the proceeding, they are reviewing the documents and the data. And it is leading up to a commission decision in July. And then after that, we enter into the kind of contract negotiation phases with the developers, and then the projects are anticipated to come online in 2027.
Mike, I think importantly as well, so this group remembers part of those intervening parties that reached that phase 1 settlement agreement, the city and the county, both were interveners in that procedure. Mike, does that mean that they're going to be intervening again here, or do they have to make up this?
No, they're still intervening parties. So we had the city of Pueblo was an intervening party. Pueblo County was an intervening party, and we also had Canyon City was an intervening party. And so so those 3 entities are allowed to continue in the proceeding. In fact, there is a comment period where all the parties in the case have the ability to file a comment to the commission. After they've reviewed our 120-day report, they can file comment to the commission. In fact, I just got off a call with all the parties just a minute ago. And so we had a kind of a party stakeholder call, and we walked through our plan. So yeah, John, the city and the county still have that ability to comment on the plan if they are interested in.
Perfect, thank you.
So as we went through the bids, the way we evaluate the bids is primarily on cost. Cost is the most important part of how we look at a proposal. 75% of our evaluation score is based on the cost of the project. So the least cost project, so we use like a point score basis. Think about it. So the lowest cost bid would get 75 points. And then the next lowest cost price would get 74 points. That kind of setup. We also factor in 25% of the bids evaluation is on non-economic factors. And these are things like local community support, labor metrics, some developer experience, transmission, cost and access, and then if there's any other property concerns with the location, real property, and environmental concerns. So we do factor in 25% of the bids are based on kind of these non-economic factors, which can play a pretty significant role in some of these projects. All right, John. Yep. So this is a very high level map of where John was talking earlier about our facilities. You see the 3 little wind turbines down there by Walsenburg. Those are the existing wind farms that we have. If you kind of go north there, there's like a blue or a purple. It's supposed to be a solar facility. So that's going to be one of our new proposed large solar. It's down there southeast Pueblo there. Keep going up a little bit north there. The orange dot? That is our PAGS facility. And we are proposing a battery storage project to be located right there by that PAGS facility. And up, couldn't quite fit on the scale of the map, but we are proposing a wind resource, which is up in Kit Carson County. So that's up northeast, close to Burlington.
Almost on the Kansas border. Yep.
So one of the important things is, as we were factoring in all of these projects and the bids, economic development is really important. We want to see our community grow just as much as you all do. We want to see that economic impact. And so 2 of the 3 projects, as you saw, are going to be located in Pueblo County, which provides a lot of economic impact, a lot of the economic development. As these projects are being constructed, they bring in lots of construction jobs. And then in addition, we've got all the property tax base associated with it. So we've estimated what that economic impact is. The other interesting part here is there's some significant benefits due to the Inflation Reduction Act that we were not able to tap into previously. And so the IRA for utilities, it allows us to actually monetize those tax benefits, which we have not been able to do in the past. And so what this allows us to do is really offset some of the cost of that project and provide those tax savings right to customers. And so we are estimating over 10 years here through the through the Inflation Reduction Act, that we'll have almost $270 million of tax savings that we can provide to customers on these projects.
And I think I do want to point out that's actually a question specifically that Laura gets asked at one of our prior meetings. I think when we talked about the last update to the clean energy plan. And so they absolutely are, those IRA benefits are captured in the 120-day report.
I have a question. When you say you're going to provide those to customers, how are they going to come to customers? Like, is Black Hills going to take those credits and use those to offset their expenses, or are those going to be, and then thus reducing customer rates, or is it going, how are those going to be utilized to customers?
Yeah, so it's a transferability provision in the IRA that's new. So some of the challenges, if you think about like your personal income tax, if you have enough tax deductions, you can get down to where you don't actually have any taxes. You pay zero tax, so your taxable income can go down to zero. Utilities and big industries have the same problem, where if you have enough tax deductions, you actually don't have enough taxable income. So then if you have even more tax deductions, they become no value to us. Well, this law changes that for us, and it allows us to take these tax deductions and sell them off. And so the way we would provide those savings to customers is through that transferability of when we sell those tax deductions to other entities. That savings then comes back and reflects as a reduction in our total cost. And it'd be passed on to customers through lowering of the rate.
So, okay, and that's what I was wondering. And just FYI, like I do deal in that space and have monetized tax credits and benefits and things like that before. We have significant investors throughout the nation that do take advantage of that, and would be interested in the Pueblo County area, or even just project by project, taking advantage of that. Even investors up to $100 million worth of funds that can take advantage of those. So that sounds awesome to be able to pass on, and it does reduce overall the cost of the system. Those can be passed down because that means energy is less.
That's right. Yep.
And I appreciate the question, Tyler. And I apologize, but because we can't see hands, if you don't mind, let's just hold them till the end of the presentation.
Okay, emission reductions. So this chart shows where we're estimating our emission reduction goals are going to, where we're going to achieve. So this plan would result in about an 89% emission reductions by 2030. The state statutes require that we hit at least an 80% emission reduction by 2030. With our plan, we're able to exceed that and get to 89% by 2028. That's all I had on this side. John, anything you want to add on this one?
No.
So when you talk about energy side, so with these projects, we will increase our renewable energy mix. So currently today, we sit at about 30% renewable energy. And with these new projects coming online in 2028, that'll take our energy mix to about 75% renewable energy. And then by 2030, which is really the goal and the deadline here, we would still be about 75% renewable energy by 2030. And so you can see here on the chart, our natural gas, which is our PAGS facility there. It's the orange color. So you can see when we add in this renewables, we're really displacing our natural gas units. So we will see savings from our natural gas cost, right? As we burn less natural gas, we're going to see fuel savings associated with that. But I'll mention though that those natural gas units are extremely important, even though they're going to be dispatched less. Those natural gas units are the only reason why we can achieve this emission reduction goals and not sacrifice reliability. So those units, while they won't be as dispatched as much, they are going to be there for critical peak needs. They are going to be there for when We don't have the intermittency of the renewables. And so they are critical for keeping the reliability as we have come to enjoy and expect.
Yeah, and I'll just make the comment that I've had a few folks say, well, when does that really happen? When does renewables not really produce? It's usually just at night or, well, just a reminder, when we had Storm Uri back in 2021, we almost literally getting no production out of any of the renewables that we were using. So PAGS carried that load throughout that entire 3-day cold snap over the President's Day weekend.
Yeah, there's also, I talked about too, John, there was a really cold day in Pueblo, February, December, 2 days before Christmas, 2022, I believe. We had a really cold snap down in Pueblo, and of course, there's no sun, there's no wind, and the only thing that kept folks going was PAGS.
Do you want me to linger on this slide at all, or do you want me to move on?
Yeah, I think we talked about PAGS. Yep. All right, this is kind of our forecast of what it's going to cost to implement this clean energy plan. There will be a surcharge added to customer bills. It's going to be called the Clean Energy Plan Rider. It will be an increase of customer bills 1.5%. So starting in January, customers will see a new line item on your bill for this new surcharge. But like I talked about before, we're forecasting reductions in fuel cost. So while we're going to be increasing a line item and adding a new line item, there are going to be some, we're forecasting fuel cost savings. And then we're also able to reduce our RESA surcharge, which is our renewable energy standard surcharge, from currently it's at 2% down to 1%. So the message here is while we do have a new surcharge coming to customer bills, we're forecasting some offsetting reductions, which allows us, we're anticipating, stabilizing bills, or you can see in the orange chart, on the line graph, that forecasting slightly declining bills through this, but really we're not seeing any kind of major bill increases associated with this plan. Okay, real quick about the projects themselves. So 3 projects, like I mentioned. One is a 200 megawatt project down in Southeast Pueblo County. The other is a 50 megawatt battery storage project located at our PAGS facility. And then the third project is a 150 megawatt wind project, kind of out there by Burlington. And then you've got the kind of the summary of the economic development impact, tax savings, energy mix there, and our emission reduction estimates.
So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and escape out of presentation mode, and I'll let you take back over, George. But happy to take questions at this point. I know that's a lot of information in a short period of time. I will tell you, I have a 1-page fact sheet that I can share with all of you. I have a printed copy here today, and then George, I'll provide it to you so you can email it out to the group, and then you can have both this presentation and the fact page for the archive for the meetings.
Great. Mike, those windmills down in Walsenburg, I've been following those. Originally, they were put in by San Isabel and along with Tri-State. Did Black Hills buy those? Are you part owners, or what's happening?
Yeah, there's another wind farm down there that I think you're referring to. Those are all ours. We've owned those from the beginning.
Okay, so you have a different one. I'm talking about the 3 ones right on I-25. Those aren't what you were talking.
No, those are not ours. So if you go a little bit east of those wind farms, those are ours are located a little bit east of the highway. I think about 2 miles east of the highway. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. And one other question on the batteries. You mentioned without the generation with natural gas, a cold spell or something like that. As more and more people put solar on the house, by your date, let's say in between 2025 and 2030, if the number of homes that have solar on them with backup batteries and stuff, and your 50 megawatts, is it possible that that'll go higher, to 75, 100 megawatts to offset it? Because it seems like utility companies aren't calling them storage anymore. They're actually, backup generating is what they are.
Yeah, those batteries are, so this one, it's a 4-hour battery, 50 megawatts for 4 hours, which means we're able to dispatch and use the energy for 4 hours. And so what it's, before it, you have to refill it. But essentially what it's going to be used for is to help peaking hours and shave peak load and to supply peak demands is essentially how that battery is going to be used. And we'll also be able to use it for the arbitrage of being able to store the excess wind energy, which is generated at night, usually where we don't have a lot of customer load at night. And so that's how we envision that battery to really play.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Good reminder. I forgot the wind generates at night. Appreciate it.
Do we have any other questions from our
I
folks
have a
online?
question. Sorry, this is Tyler online.
Yep.
Is your clean energy plan ever going to consider like incentives to customers to use renewables or to produce their own renewables, such as like you're saying, to provide them batteries and then use those batteries to shave their own like peak loads, or to put systems on their own homes and then offer them incentives to do so with like such as tax benefits, or maybe leasing somebody a system, for Black Hills? Does it include any customer type incentives, or just the fact that you're passing larger scale renewable energy costs onto your customers through surcharges?
Oh, yeah, great question. Yes, we have, it's a separate program designed, we call it our Renewable Energy Standard Program, or our RES plan. And through the RES plan, we provide incentives to customers for behind the meter options and battery storage. So more of a customer program. So we have a program set up. It was just approved by the commission last year that provides incentives for storage, for example. We have a new storage incentive program. That's all handled through our renewable plan. The clean energy plan is really just is focused more on the big utility scale stuff, but we do have those customer rebate options as well.
Mike, I don't know if we can answer this question. Another community member has asked this before, but if not, I can commit to coming back to the group with the answer. But with the reduction in the RESA, how does that impact the programs that are under the RESA, like what you just mentioned, the battery storage and whatnot? Was it just deemed that we have adequate dollars in that bucket in order to incentivize customers? Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we went through a new RES plan. We're supposed to go through a RES plan every 4 years with the commission. And essentially they set the rebate levels, our target amounts for those customer programs. And as we went through that plan last year, we modified some of those programs, and that kind of triggered or allowed us to reduce be able to reduce the RESA rate. We also have a fairly large over collection in that account. So meaning the revenue that we've been generating from customers has exceeded the cost that we put through that program. And that over collection actually allows us to reduce the rate, and it also allows us to fund some of these. We're going to use some of that money to fund a little bit of the clean energy plan.
So the takeaway there is they're customer dollars that are always going to go back to benefit the customer.
Yeah.
On all these new energy resources, solar, wind, and battery, are these all owned by Black Hills?
So if you can hear that, Mike, the question was, what's the ownership structure of the 400 megawatts of renewables?
Yeah, the wind project would be owned by a third-party developer, and then we just contract with them, so it's a purchase power agreement. The solar project, we're proposing that it would be a utility owned, so Black Hills would own it and operate it. And same with the battery. The battery would be owned and operated by Black Hills.
Question. My name's George. I'm not a member of the board here or the commission. However, I've been a strong energy advocate for several years, sir. Since the future is hydrogen, has there been any projects submitted that are hydrogen oriented? Or has Black Hills considered, according to the National Hydrogen Energy Plan that Biden just kind of released, that's dominant in hydrogen development? Has any consideration been focused on that by Black Hills, that they're looking at renewables and they can electrolyze water, and we got the river?
Yes. So I can tell you with this plan, we did not get any hydrogen projects bid from developers. So that 113 bids that I mentioned, we did not get any hydrogen projects. However, Black Hills is very interested in studying that technology. And we have, we're finishing up a project in Wyoming with one of our natural gas power plants in Wyoming. We partnered with the Wyoming Department of Transportation and the Department of Energy and General Electric to do a study on what different levels of hydrogen blending can be used in our generation plants. So yeah, we're actively looking at that technology. I think it does have a lot of promise that we could potentially use even at our PAGS facilities.
Understood, sir. And I know natural gas is used to produce most of the hydrogen in use today. And that creates the gray hydrogen and I have this motto: you're never too gray to go green. Guys, get it? Okay. I'm going to use that in my advocacy for development of hydrogen here in Pueblo. And I'm strong on it, man. I've been waiting 45 years for this to happen, gentlemen. 45 years. And I've got a letter from Senator Haskell in 1978 when I was questioning hydrogen development back then. So I'm not going to mess around this time. I'm going to die, and I want to do something substantial before that. Hydrogen is going to be the wave of the future. It is. It's all over the world. We're still catching up.
Thank you, George.
End of. Thank you.
So, thanks so much for giving this presentation. Really appreciate it.
Actually, I have one more question.
Okay.
Sorry. This is Tyler again. What are Black Hills' views as you look to do projects within Pueblo County and within our area toward like the new regulations that have been passed? Because it seems like as everybody's looking forward to 2030 renewable things and things like that, more laws, sorry about the baby, but more laws get passed to combat like solar development or wind development and things like that. Are all those taken into consideration as you look to do projects within our area?
Yeah, good question. As part of that evaluation process, when the developer or the bidder gives us their information, we do quite a bit of work on making sure that they have all of the land locked down, and the land and access to the land and land agreements in place. Permitting from the county does a lot of the permitting. Environmental is always an issue. And so those developers do give us quite amount of detailed information on that. And that is part of that evaluation score when we go through those projects. We're not going to select a project that does not have those things kind of locked down and set up. And so that's part of that evaluation metric.
Hey, Michael, this is Patty. Can you talk a little bit about how you reviewed these projects, proposals with an emphasis on income qualified customers?
Yeah, sure, Patty. Good to hear your voice. The, yeah, I'll start a little bit, I guess, IRA. In some of the tax advantages, they have actually increased tax advantages for communities that I forget the term that's used in the IRA, but essentially it's a bonus tax deduction for certain types of communities. And Pueblo,
Disproportionately impacted communities.
there we go. There we go. Yep. And Pueblo qualifies for that. And so there's an additional tax savings that is awarded to those projects located there. Well, Patty, you bring up a good question. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about just that process that we use to evaluate some of these bids. I think I mentioned we have a independent evaluator. It's required by the commission that oversees the whole process. They look at the bids that we get, the proposals that we get. They help us with the communications to the developers. And essentially they're there to assist Black Hills in making sure that we are treating all the bids fairly and equally. And so they've been a big help for us. We kind of use their system and their services to make sure, there's no, again, that all the bids are treated equally. And then we use a pretty detailed modeling called capacity expansion modeling that simulates real world dispatch of projects and resources. Is pretty complex econometric modeling. And essentially from there, that's how we select these projects when we get the results back from our econometric modeling that selects those least cost projects.
I just have one thing.
Go ahead.
Michael, Tom Corlett. I have one question that has to do with, I think this plan is terrific personally. I think it's great. And the question I have is, I know you think about this as you're doing resource plans. How will rates now start to affect this? Will there be some rate changes that we couldn't anticipate coming down the pike?
Yeah, there's going to be a new surcharge on customer bills. So we will implement a new surcharge called the Clean Energy Plan. So it'll show up on customer bills. It's a 1.5%, which is kind of established by the statutes. Our legislature kind of set up a framework that provides some cost protection to customers. So it is a cap of 1.5%. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we're forecasting some reduced cost of natural gas that will offset that increased cost. So ultimately, we're seeing and forecasting, minimal bill impacts with potentially some slight declining impacts, as it relates really specifically to these projects.
There's been a concern for the time of use, for instance, and some changes that will be fairly significant beyond the plan itself. Any comment about that?
I mean, yes, we do have time of use rates right now as an option for customers. Yeah, we're actually currently looking at modifying those time of use rates. But that would be handled outside of this kind of a proceeding here.
All right, thank you very much.
This 1.5% adder you talk about, is that a metered adder based on your use?
Yes, well, a total bill. So not necessarily your kilowatt hours. So it'd be a 1.5% added onto your total bill.
Oh. But offset by the other side.
Well, if there's no other questions, I just want to say thank you again for allowing us to share this with you. You're hearing this after the mayor, but before city council. We're starting to do some one-on-one conversations with council. The city will be an intervener. We really hope that the city supports our proposal. There might be, other things that the city's concerned about, of course, and we'll have other conversations, but I think overall, we're feeling very, very positive about this plan.
Good job.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Michael, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, everybody.
So John,
Bye-bye.
can we, maybe plan a presentation on the res? The res plan?
You'd like a presentation on the res plan? Yeah, we can plan for that. Happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. And we'll get a copy of this presentation too.
Yeah, you'll have a PDF version of this as well as the one.
Since we don't have the mothers out front, we can talk about suggestions for the next meeting. And one of the things I was thinking about doing, we had done this presentation from our June Markahani on kind of a, he's an energy expert in the Northeast. He talks about energy options and what our future should be. And I think it was very educational. We saw this in the commission a couple of years ago. And I have a recording of that. And I was thinking that we'd present that in the next meeting, because we have a lot of new commissioners on the commission. And I think it would be a good presentation. It's probably about 40 minutes long. So it's going to take a good portion of the meeting.
Well, excuse me, we'll have also the presentation, the official presentation to the commission from the students and from on the strategy.
Okay.
Right.
Are we going to do that in this meeting? Or are we going to do this?
Are they ready for us?
They have to be. They're out of school and they've got.
But there's this presentation in a couple of days. Right?
Yeah, that's right. It's not here. It's at the university.
Okay. So we ought to schedule some time on the strategy stuff.
So it's a matter of how, once we hear that, how we start to integrate it when we sit down and work through it.
Okay. Any other?
So is that going to be on the agenda next time, this strategic plan and how we're going to deal with it?
Well, I guess we're going to hear a report back from CSU. I have some concerns about the way this is going, because I think we need, they're going to present energy options, which we already know. I mean, we can just go look at Lazard levelized cost of energy and see what kind of energy options we have. We just heard what Black Hills is going to do. So we're not going to change much. I'm more interested in what we want to accomplish in this commission, and what our strategies would be. Community outreach. How do we get to the 100% renewables by 2035 for the city? Things of that nature. How do we electrify buildings within the city? How do we electrify our fleets and our I mean, the big opportunity is to go to renewable energy, to generate the energy, and to electric vehicles to lower the greenhouse gas. I mean, this is all legislative stuff.
But are we going to give them some room in our presentation in our meeting next?
It sounds like the answer is yes.
Okay. And because I know the presentation you're talking about, that 40, some minutes, and it is good, but as you know, it's 2 years ago. So there may not be a lot of things like the hydrogen, the battery. And I was going to mention that on our strategic plan, we really need to look at the flexibility, because, 2 months ago, what Black Hills is talking about is completely different than where we were all thinking we were heading. Now the hydrogen, we have some other things. So the strategic plan should be made so it's flexible within our subcommittees and things like that. And you've seen it. I mean, the car is a great example. And I was going to say, hey, are you ready to plug your car back into the system and run your house at night?
I mean, the vehicle to grid stuff is really not there yet, but I mean, those.
Well, you heard
ideas are
Black
good.
Hills are gonna give you maybe a rebate if you throw a battery in there, but I use it not to answer the question, but to use that as part of, this is stuff that's coming up, and I'm hoping CSU Pueblo, that they address some of these things, because our committee hasn't been investigating. It sounds like they have.
Hope they address hydrogen a little bit, suggestion.
I have some issues with some of these ideas with hydrogen. I don't think we want to inject it back into the natural gas lines, things like
No.
that.
I'm not talking
Well,
about
rather than get into a discussion of that, I just want to make sure we finish the idea, the concept of this strategic planning, so that we come back with what they've done and determine whether that's a direction we're really gonna go in.
I agree.
See what
I didn't bring it up to talk about it. I brought it up more to indicate that these things are coming up, and with CSU Pueblo, I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
They may really have some inside information and education for all of us.
I have a comment, if I can, real quick.
Yes,
About what you're
please.
talking about. I think as you're talking strategic planning and for this commission in general, really focus, I think George's doing a bang up job of headed towards the city's goals and renewables and things like that. As far as the commission, I think we should be looking at community outreach and education towards renewables, and towards the city in general, because whether the city does a project, and keep in mind that when a city does do a project, it has to be approved either by voters or it has to be approved by the city councilors, and all of those types of things. And without the education that we could focus on and provide, like some of those things, could be shot down. Recently I just got interviewed yesterday by KOAA because a real estate agent in Colorado Springs is reached out to the news and wanted to tell homeowners that going solar was not worth it. And now you can see that education and outreach comes into play even with the projects with Black Hills. How does that play to customers' bills? Some of those things are going to be passed on if you choose inside of the city to finance these projects. Those can be passed on through bonds or extra taxes and things like that. So educating where the savings can come from, yes, you are paying a little bit more, but this allows us to free up costs for better facilities, for different types of things. And so I think that's mainly what our strategy focus should be, not the type of energy that the city chooses, or the projects that they're going after. To continue to discuss hydrogen and nitrogen and nuclears and things like that. I don't think that should be our commission's goals and focuses.
I agree, Tyler, and a lot of people are shaking their heads yes, if you didn't see them. So it looks like majority agree with you.
Yeah. So Tyler, I think, what you're talking about ought to be a big part of our strategic planning. And I also think that what we ought to look towards in the next couple months is maybe a work session with the city council on this topic.
Yeah.
So that the commission can report back.
Yeah.
I think I was kind of waiting for this EPC stuff to kind of get firmed up, and it has, right? We're kind of in the next steps of doing it. The big part was choosing the buildings. I mean, that took a lot of study. So, that, and I think you had some ideas too, Tyler, to save the city a lot of money. Those things need to be pursued. So
still in the works there. And also, just so you know, currently, I've had a lot of investors reach out about the monetizing of tax credits and solar, and what that can provide. We are moving ahead. I just spoke to our legal team about this, and we are moving ahead at setting up a fund that is going to benefit Southern Colorado. So I'm going to take Nation's money, who my investor base asked me about these types of projects. And currently, soft commitment right now, we have just over $750,000 that can go towards not-for-profit or other types of projects in purchasing those tax benefits and making those projects affordable for low-income individuals. We just did 6 to 10. We just did 6 and we're on our way to 10 of the Pueblo weatherization projects that those people cannot use their tax benefits. So, you know, purchasing those and passing those on to investors that can use those will be the goal of that fund. And like I said, currently, you know, just in the last 2 weeks of talking to investors and raising money, that fund is just over $750,000 that we're going to push into the Pueblo community for solar type projects.
There also might be other grants that we could go after in this area too, so.
Part of the EPC.
I think this is the kind of stuff I want to strategize about, right? Not talk about energy, you know.
And
nuclear
Tyler brought up,
versus, you know.
these are great subcommittees, the low income, education, the outreach. And so as soon as we get through this strategic plan, we can start these subcommittees and start working. And again, I'm not a big, you know, let's have presentations. We can educate within our group as we talk about some of these issues, but we're not going to get anything done until we get these subcommittees. And we're not going to be able to go to the city council and talk to them about these things until we have information for us.
Yes.
So one piece I'd like to tell the commission as well with the strategy planning, I think that it's important for the Energy Commission to advocate for local energy ordinances, policies that we can present to city council for adoption. For example, had a conversation with Mark Guerrero from Pueblo Regional Building. He'd like to see an ordinance or a resolution, for example, for new city construction or major renovations to be net zero. So we'd like to look at something like that. And if there's something that
We got that ordinance already written and approved by at that time at our general counsel, our legal counsel. So we've already gave them that, didn't we?
Well, I mean, we need to push those things.
Sure. But no, I'm just saying that document's already.
But those produced it. That type of stuff is what we ought to be working on, right?
Right. So
And
that's
that comes out of the strategic plan, I think, too.
100% agree with that, and especially even outreach even further to our county, because the new larger scale projects that Black Hills is talking about, you know, that's why I mentioned it, is because the county is getting stricter with solar type projects and renewable type projects in their laws. Most recently, you know, and even smaller scale projects, and they're lumping, you know, 1 megawatt projects in with 100 megawatt projects in the same type of regulation and rules, and the things they require make things cost ineffective, you know, makes projects that are smaller ineffective. And so we do need to focus on those and educate people. You know, they still live in the county, even though they live in the city. And I think, you know, education on renewables is huge at this point, because, you know, just like I said, a real estate agent telling a homeowner that solar isn't worth it to them does not know that Black Hills is building a solar farm and then passing that cost on to the customer, albeit that's a great percentage, 1.5%. Like, and then they're going to reduce a percent. I think, you know, utilities are doing a good job to control what energy costs are right now. But at the same time, like, you know, that doesn't mean in the future that, you know, we can't help them control those costs by helping the public understand what they can do themselves.
Yeah, I remember attending a Solar United Neighbors, or it was Vote Solar seminar. But this was up in Fort Collins, right? And they had an audience of a real estate agent who really knew the value of PV. And there's resources out there that you can use to value your PE on your roof and show that value to a potential buyer.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really eye-opening what the value of that rooftop solar is.
Like heat pumps and getting back to what Tyler's talking about, you know, when that long St. Charles neighborhood disapproved I think it was a solar array out there. So we have to educate the people. Geez, hey, we're gonna build this by you and it's gonna benefit you. And they go, we don't want it because it may shine in my eyes. You know, and they don't get it. It's just like a Tesla car. Well, I get too much tire wear, so we better not. The windmills are killing too many birds. You know? And it's kind of like, okay, well, let's just burn the hell out of coal and kill us all.
Hey, I have a question.
I think we need to,
Go ahead, Patty. Let's hear it.
I have a question. So I'm new to the, commission and wanting to know, do we have a document, a strategic plan drafted, started? We throw a lot of ideas at the table all the time and it's fantastic. But, I think there needs to be some structure to this and a roadmap, and it's there. It just needs to be put to paper. And so I don't know if that was something we were working on, you were talking about, we have, so just have that question.
CSUP students have a draft document that I've come up with, and just hearing from others in their input, but the CSUP students are working on a document that will be presented to us, and then we'll be able to build on top of that.
George, so this meeting that's happening with these CSU students, I guess this is next week, right? Can you send out that notice to everybody? So,
Sure.
So this isn't gonna be at one of our general meetings. It's gonna be a supplement.
It will. So the CSUP students will be presenting their findings on Monday. So that's when they'll be completed with the project, and then we'll be able to.
So Patty, what you're asking for is important. And I think we as a commission need to be a big part of that, okay? Having some CSU student do it for us. If they facilitate it for us, that would be nice. To do the plan for us without our input doesn't make a lot of sense.
So it's gonna take quite a bit of input.
Yeah.
I think it's a start. It's a great start, and but it's a start. So
Yes.
I agree with you. It is our document. It's our roadmap. I think it was a great idea to have the students do this. And I'm excited to hear what they have to offer, but I think it's just a start for us. So that answers my question. And I think, maybe that's something we need to continue that conversation on, how to formalize our strategic plan as a document, and it can be living, breathing, it changes all the time, but we need some structure, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Just a reminder, we did a strategic plan. Our committee did about a year and a half too, and we have been working on that ever since the proposal to look at it again. So we have been, and we developed subcommittees and have been working with a strategic plan all along. It's just that we're holding off on this new one. So the last few months, we haven't been working on, we've been trying to get this strategic plan accomplished.
We're going on about 4 years in this commission, I think, right? And we did start out with a strategic planning session. We spent, several meetings on that topic, and got rolling. But like you say, it's kind of a living document. We need, now is a good time with new commissioners, especially we've got 15 commissioners, most of them new. It's a time to do it again.
I agree.
Can we see the existing one? Is that something we want to review? And so we have the students doing their piece, and then we get the document that we already have.
We can, but I don't, I think we should spend our time on looking at what they present and do what you suggested. Move on to creating a strategic plan.
Okay.
We have, that document is stored somewhere. We can grab it. But there's some head shaking no on this. So let's see where the strategy planning goes, in the next few weeks. And then we can if it needs adjustment, we'll adjust.
Well, we have about 5 more minutes until we're at time. Do we have any other closing comments or remarks?
If not, if there's nothing else to be said, why don't we go ahead and close the meeting out?
Go.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Yeah, good meeting. Thanks.
bet.
Thanks, George. Great.
Thanks. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks. Good meeting.
You're gonna provide that slide deck in the.
I was gonna.
Great, you can-